Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here. Today I'm going to be showing you on how to fix a design flaw that's on this clamp. Now this clamp is for camera mounting, so if you have a GoPro 360 camera or any action camera for that matter, you could actually attach it to this clamp via the screw over here, and then this pretty much clamps to any part of the bike you want to get those really awesome camera shots of you riding. Now, like I said, there's a little bit of a design flaw, so let me go ahead and show you what I mean. Let's go over to the R3, and I'm going to clamp this onto pretty much the mirror arm and go from there. So as you can see, I already have it on the bike, on the R3 actually. So when you tighten it, you have to be like really strong and tighten it really good. And not only that, if you're not really good on strength, what I use is this little small tool, which is an adjustable wrench, and I use it to kind of really tighten it really good, because after a while with riding, this actually tends to vibrate and kind of come loose, and you definitely don't want that to happen when you're on a ride. But the problem is that when you do it over and over, this actually comes off. So it's actually counterclockwise to remove this whole piece. Let me show you. So it's already tight, but now I'm still able to turn it. But what's happening now, it's the whole thing is actually just coming loose. Not this particular piece, but this handle. So I'm just going to keep on going until it actually comes off. And then as you can see, now it's off. So what I'm going to do to remedy this part is I'm going to actually drill into it like how I did if you saw my video on remedying a problem with foot pedals for the Gixxer. I'm going to pretty much do the same thing, and if you haven't seen that video, it's going to be right up here somewhere. I'll link for that video. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and it's going to be counterclockwise, and I'm going to show you a few things that you can do to remedy the problem with this clamp, because other than that, this clamp is pretty awesome that you could actually, you know, adjust your camera angles, put it anywhere on the bike, you know, so you can get those cool shots when you're riding. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this clamp, and then let's get over to the bench and let me show you how to fix the issue. Alright guys, here is the clamp. Now before we actually go into drilling the hole to put this pin, now you're wondering why I have the pin over here. It's because it's very small. I don't want it to roll off the table and onto the floor. Alright, so what we're going to do right now is, as you can see, I do have some JB Weld here, some locking pliers here, and a center punch here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to center punch a part right over here. This is aluminum, so I'm going to center punch it right there, so that way when we put the drill to it, it's not going to start, you know, skipping around on this aluminum piece, and it's just going to stay in the middle. The drill bit that I'll be using to make this hole is going to be a 5/64, which is right there. So that's the size that we're going to be using to make this hole. So before we get started on making the hole, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Now, since I don't have it, I'm going to use these clamps. I'm going to clamp it right here in the center, and I'm going to take this handle off. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you on mixing up the JB Weld so we can put it in there. Alright guys, so as you can see, I do have it clamped there. Now the reason I have it clamped there is because there is no threads there. If you clamp it here, you have the risk of actually damaging the threads and it not working properly anymore. But there is a center part where there is no thread, so that's where I have that part clamped. Alright, so let me get this over here so you guys can see. So in order to remove this knob, you want to make sure that you turn it clockwise. So clockwise, and this part's holding it. So once we get this all off, I'm going to go ahead and mix my JB Weld. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this hole right here. I don't know why I have a shadow here. I'm going to fill the hole with JB Weld, and then I'm going to go ahead and reinsert it and tighten it back up. Now the reason I'm putting the JB Weld now instead of later is because once it sets, I mean, if we were to, let me clean this up a little bit, if we were to, you know, drill the hole and then back it up, who knows if it's actually going to go to the right spot of the hole. So I'd rather just do everything once instead of, you know, making the hole, take it out, put it, and find out that the hole is not in the right spot, and then we have to drill another hole. So that's the whole reason I'm doing the JB Weld right now. We don't have to mix that much JB Weld. This is the steel part, and this is the hardener. So we're just going to mix just a little bit and then shove it into the hole. I'll try to fill up, the hole does go pretty deep in there. I would say it would probably pretty much go all up to right here, so it is pretty deep. So I'm going to put as much JB Weld as I can in there, and then we'll take it, then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, so here is the steel, here's the hardener. Now just note, the more hardener you put to steel, the faster it is going to take, the faster it's going to be to kind of get hard. The less hardener you put, the longer it's going to take to you know, get solid. So I think I kind of overdid on this one, but that's alright. For this particular one, I wanted to get harder a little bit more, faster. So yeah, so, and also you want to use a scrap piece of paper to put this stuff on, because you definitely won't be able to use whatever it is that you set the stuff on. You want to just kind of throw it away. Alright, so here's the piece, and I'm using just a small little tiny screwdriver to kind of put it in there. Alright, so we're just gonna kind of shove it in there. Might get a little messy, just try to do the best you can on getting as much inside of the hole. Alright, so while I go ahead and do that, you guys do the same, and then once we're done with this, we'll go ahead and put it back on the clamp. Alright, as you can see, I already got this thing filled. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it back on here. So when you put it on here, it's going to be counterclockwise. Alright, so just keep on threading it until it doesn't go any further. I may just, let me see if I undo it. If any of this stuff gets on the threads, which would be good. I may just put a little bit more, actually more on the threads, just to coat it a little bit further. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this in. Again, counterclockwise. There we go. And that may just, you know, wipe off the excess of the JB Weld once we get there. Or I even may, actually maybe I should just probably leave it on there. I'll probably just wipe the excess on the you know, edge of it. Alright, so you want to get this on there nice and tight. As tight as you could get it is the better. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera out of my way. I'm going to get as tight as I can, and then once we do that, I'll show you how to do the hole. Okay, I already got it on there, and I also decided to kind of spread it along the thread just a little bit more on that department. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and center punch the aluminum. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to grab your center punch tool and mark. I want to try to get on the most flat part, so not this part, but obviously right about here. And you want to do is you want to get it in the middle. You don't want to be too, you don't want to be too low, you don't want to be too high. So somewhere right here in the middle is where you want to do a center punch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You guys do the same. Alrighty guys, as you can see, I already center punched it right about there. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and get my drill. And I'm going to go very slowly. I'm going to go at a slow speed until I actually start getting into the aluminum. Once I started getting in it, I'll probably go a little bit faster and put a little bit more pressure to get it in there. I may not go all the way through, so that way this little pin has somewhere to kind of sit, you know, kind of bottom out. And then what I'm going to do, hopefully this JB Weld is still good, I will cover it, I'll put the pin in there, and then we'll cover it up with the JB Weld so it can stay in there forever. So I kept the clamp on there just to kind of hold it more steady in place, because without it this is kind of like very light. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my drill right onto the center punch part, and I'm just going to go very slowly on it. And I'm not sure why you guys have such a shadow here. Let's see if I turn off this light. Nope, that makes it even darker. Actually no, it actually doesn't. Alright, maybe it's because I have a light overhead. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and start off slowly. I'm also putting my hand on top of the drill over here to give it just a little bit of pressure. So let's start off slowly. And then you want to also kind of blow all the shavings away. It's kind of hard with the camera in my way, but this is pretty much what you're doing. You're just going to kind of go slowly until you start going all the way through on the nut. So while I go ahead and do that, you guys do the same, but you guys already kind of get the idea of what I'm doing. And you could just stop every so often, blow the shavings away. That way you guys could see on how far and deep you are on the screw. And then once you see that you're pretty good enough, go ahead and drop the screw in. Or you could kind of test it by putting the screw in, not the screw, but this little pin. So you could kind of test it out and just kind of constantly put the pin in there and see how far or deep it goes. Once it goes to where it's kind of flush, you know, where it's, you know, not poking out, then you know you went far enough, and then you could just go ahead and take it out and then put the JB Weld. But I'll show you all that once I get there. Alright guys, I wanted to take a shot real quick so you guys could see on how close I am on to getting it all the way in. So just a little bit more drilling, and then that thing should be flush with the outside of the knob. Alrighty guys, the hole, it is now deep enough. So what I'm going to do, I know it's going to get a little messy in this department because the screwdriver obviously is wider than the hole. I'm going to try to do the best I can and just scooping up a little bit of the JB Weld and putting it in there. And then once I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the excess off. Well, you pretty much want to just try to put as much as you can in there. Therefore, it kind of stays. Put as much as I can there. Let me just kind of put a little bit more on the top, so once I push it in, hopefully it pushes more of the JB Weld on there. So that's that. So now I'm going to grab my pin, and here is the pin, guys, very tiny. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put it in there. Sorry if my hand is in the way. Go up and down, dipping it as the pin could probably get more of that JB Weld inside. Just try to push it in more. Alright, so and after that, I'm just going to go ahead and let that dry. You want to make sure you let that dry for probably, if optimal, overnight would be preferable. If not, I would say probably 6 hours from now. Yeah, around 6 hours should be good. At 3 hours, you may want to just touch it to see if it's hardened. If it's still kind of tacky, let it sit even longer. Alrighty guys, I've already let it set for actually a couple days since I haven't really gone on a ride or anything to actually knead the piece. Alright, so as you guys could see, it is already fully cured. And now what I'm thinking to do, and you may want to do the same, if that particular look doesn't bother you, you know, you can just let it be. But for me, I'm actually going to use a marker, which is actually a paint pen. And here is a paint pen. It's a gloss black made by Testers, and there is the number right there. So you guys could get the same. And pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, kind of just paint it just to make it look a little less noticeable. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. It's going to actually take me a little while, but you could actually already see, you know, if you have a flat color, I think that'll be a little bit better, as this one's a little bit on the glossy side. So I'm going to go ahead and paint all of it, and then I'll show you how it looks like afterwards. Alrighty guys, I already finished doing it, and as you can see, now it looks just a little bit less noticeable, especially from a distance. All right, so now let's go over to the bike and give it a test to see how well it clamps. Now, if you guys are wondering about this top piece, I'm not going to go ahead and drill a hole on it, you know, to tap into it to put a pin through it, because I've already tested it and noticed that that part doesn't really need to be under so much stress. So far, I've been tightening it just with my hand, and it's been holding down this whole piece with no problem. All right, so let's go over to the bike and put this on there. So I wanted to show you guys real quick, you know, not part of this, well, this is pretty much the tool I use to tighten this piece. And this piece obviously is aluminum, and this part obviously is aluminum, and constantly doing it, you're going to start scratching up the handle. In order to remedy this, what you could do, if this is going to be, I'm going to only be using this small tool to really tighten this clamp. So what to do is get some heat shrink tubing, and the size of the heat shrink tubing that I'm using is going to be 5/8. All right, there we go, 5/8. I'll point it with the crayon so you guys can see it. And that's the size of the heat shrink tubing I'm using for this project. So you're gonna do is you're gonna grab the piece, and we're just gonna slide it on over and try to push it in as far as you can. And then obviously you're gonna, you know, find where it ends, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut it. Once you cut it, then you're gonna put the other piece towards the bottom, slide it in as far as you can, find the edge and cut it, and then use some heat to shrink tubing over it. And that's gonna, you know, keep the surface, you know, covered, so it's not aluminum touching aluminum, therefore lessening the chance of you scratching your knob right there. All right, and here, this is how it looks like. Now the surfaces are going to be nice and soft. For the most part, it's not aluminum anymore. And then when we go to tighten this, it's not going to scratch the knob. All right, now let's go over to the bike and install this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and install this on a jigsaw. Now the most common place I like to install it is pretty much here in the front mirror. We're going to go ahead and install the clamp. What you're going to do is just going to turn the knob so you could open up the jaws. You're going to go ahead and clamp it this way, and then I'm just going to go ahead and turn it as hard as I can, you know, just a little with my hand. And then I'm going to use a tool, and then I'm just going to turn it just a little bit more, you know, just to get that extra clamp down force, I guess you could call it. You don't want to go too crazy, but just enough where, you know, say right about there, because you don't want the vibration and everything to get this guy loose and it falling down with your camera and everything down to the floor. After that, I don't have my camera right now, but I do have my selfie stick that I normally, you know, attach with the camera mounts, you know, either on that side or I could use it for this side. You know, I like this one more than that one actually, guys. And a review is actually going to come for this mount and for this mount. You're kind of explaining the differences between the two mounts. But for this one, let me go ahead and move the camera a little bit back towards the back here. Now, I like this one a little bit more just because of the ease of use and the portability compared to that one. But we're just gonna go ahead and put this on here. Alrighty guys, so that pretty much concludes on how to remedy the flaw issue with the handle on its stripping. So now with that in there in place, for sure it's never going to, strip, easy at all. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, I know it's not too long, which is perfect. If you guys enjoyed this type of video, please smash that like button, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, which is down there. Hit the notification bell, which is right next to it. I'll have the selfie stick and I'll also have the clamp on the description down below from the video. So just click down there and you'll see the link for the clamp. So click on it because the links also help, for me getting money to, get other types of products. Alright guys, take care. Catch you guys on the next video.